All right, this is section 2.4, which is complex numbers of your review. The first one, number 65, is simply asking you to write this in standard form. We said standard form of a complex number is a plus bi. Okay, so we have our a. Now we need to get rid of this square root of a negative. The square root of a negative, okay, remember that negative is the I. So when we pull this out, we have I. The square root of 4 is 2. So we have 2i. Now, normally when you take square root, it's plus and minus, but there's already a plus sign here, so it's only plus. Okay, they told us the positive square root of negative 4. So plus 2i. And then you have your 6. And that's it. Pretty simple stuff. 69 is asking you to perform the operation and write in standard form. Okay, this operation is addition. So we have a complex number plus another complex number. Remember, this plus is not changing the sign of anything, so you can just drop the parentheses. And this is just minus 4 and plus 2i. So all you have to do is really combine like terms. You have the real part and you have the imaginary part. So when we combine those real parts, we have 3, and the imaginary parts, we have 7i. 73 wasn't on your review. I meant to put it on there, but I didn't, so you don't have to do this. But because it's in your notes, you are foiling here, but I need you to know how to do it. So I'm going to do one with you just as a review. First times first, okay, 10 times 2 is 20. Outer, 10 times negative 3i is negative 30i. Inner, negative 8i times 2 is negative 16i. And last, negative 8i minus 3i is positive 24i squared. The I times the I is I squared. We know that I squared is negative 1. Okay, so 24 times negative 1 is actually going to make it minus 24. Okay, here in this center we have our imaginary parts. We can combine to negative 46i, and in front we have our 20, our real part. Okay, so now we can look at this and we have 2 real parts to combine. That is a negative 4 minus 46i, and that is in standard form. All right. 79 on your review wants you to find all the solutions to the equation. Solution means x-intercepts or zeros. Okay, so normally when we do that we factor, okay, but these can't be factored. This one I can move the 1. I only have one x term, so I can just move everything and try and get x by itself. Divide by 3. To get rid of x squared, we take the square root. That leaves you with the square root of negative 1 over 3. Okay, we didn't go over one that was reducing a fraction, so make sure you're paying close attention. This is the same thing as square root of negative 1 over square root of 3. Okay, we can split the fraction. Okay, this would be I, because the square root of 1 is just 1, and the square root of the negative is I, over square root of 3. But we do not leave radicals in the denominator of a fraction. You learned that in Algebra 2. To rationalize, in case you have forgotten, you multiply by the radical that's in the denominator. And if I do that to the denominator, I have to do that to the numerator. So square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9, which is just 3. So when you're rationalizing, the reason you're multiplying by what's down here, it cancels out that square root. So you're left with just what was underneath it. And on top, I have square root of 3i. Notice I didn't write the I in front because we write bi. The real number goes in front of the I. and I apologize, I did leave something off. When you take square root, you need to remember your plus or minus. Okay, so this should be plus or minus square root of 3 over 3i. Okay, and technically, this whole thing is your b, so you could have your I here. Either way, it's fine. 81. Again, you cannot factor this. There's no combination of factors of 10. 10 and 1 or 5 and 2 that will combine to give you 2. So you have to use quadratic formula. If you don't remember it, you can sing your little Pop Goes the Weasel song. I'm not singing because some people don't like my voice, so that's fine. But it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So your first step is to identify your a, b, and c. So your equation here in standard form, your a is 1, b is negative 2, and c is 10. So we plug those in. Negative b, so negative 2, negative 2 squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. Again, we're going to break this down into steps. Don't let it overwhelm you. Okay, so first let's just simplify what's under the radical. Negative 2 squared minus 4 times a times c. So negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times 1 is 4, times 10 is 40. So that leaves you with negative 36. So all of this under the square root is square root of negative 36. And you need to simplify that. Okay, that's actually, that is a perfect square. Perfect square, 36, square root is 6. So that's going to make our lives a little easier on this one. So negative 2 is positive 2. Square root of negative 36. 2 times 1 is 2. The square root of 36 is 6, and since it's a negative, it's 6i. We can still simplify this. We're going to split it with 2 over 2 plus or minus 6i over 2. Both pieces of the term on top are being divided by 2. 2 over 2 cancels. It does not go away completely. 2 divided by 2 is 1. You have to write 1 plus or minus. It doesn't just become 0. Don't make that silly mistake. 6 divided by 2 is 3i. So those are your roots. If you want to list them separately, you could just say 1 plus 3i and 1 minus 3i. Either way, written with the plus or minus or separated is fine. Okay? And make sure they're in the form a plus bi.